Hello everyone and welcome to our short webinar. My name's Shona and alongside one of my colleagues today, we'll be taking you through best ways how to attract graduate and student talent. We're within the Careers and Graduate Futures team at Heriott Watt University, and we'll just be sharing some insights today and also some key ways you can engage with us at Heriott Watt. So my name's Shona Darling. I'm one of the student placement coordinators within Careers and Graduate Futures. And alongside me today is my colleague, Mark Gibson. He's one of the placement coordinators also, one of 5 of us in the team. I am one of the placement coordinators for EGIS, which stands for Energy, Geosciences, Infrastructure and Societies, which is a little bit of a mouthful. And then we've also got my colleague Mark, who's based within Engineering and Physical Sciences. And these are alongside some other schools, which we'll mention later on in the presentation. So before jumping into some of those stats that I mentioned, I wanted to just touch upon who we are as an institution, just in case anyone on the call is not fully familiar with who we are. Excuse me. So we were founded all the way back in 1821. And since then, we've found ourselves to be established in pioneers in education and cutting edge research. We have 5 campuses, 3 of which are based within the UK, so Edinburgh, Scottish Borders and the Orkney Islands. And we also have 2 international based campuses in Dubai and Malaysia. We're a top 50 UK university, according to the Times Higher Education rankings in 2020. And over 88% of our research outputs are classed as world leading and internationally excellent. We're also a globally connected university, and we strongly encourage our students to, if possible, take part in the Go Global scheme. So this involves students undertaking one of their semesters or a full academic year on one of our other campuses. And that really allows them to, experience a different culture and really improve their employability in the process. So I just wanted to also touch upon the makeup of our students. So we've got 27,000 students worldwide enrolled. 11,000 of those are on undergraduate courses, 14,000 on postgraduate courses. And we've also really broadened our online offering too. 10,000 of those are enrolled on online courses with us. And we've got 1,000 postgraduate researchers or PhD students. So I've touched upon the first 2 schools that I've mentioned that Mark and I operate within. We've also got Max, SOS and TEX, which we all refer to frequently. And the placement coordinators are school specific. So we keep those relationships with academics and employers within those sectors clear. All of these schools have an international presence. So we have operating across all schools, apart from textiles and design, which is solely focused exclusively at the Borders campus in Galashiels. So before launching into how we can kind of help you attract that talent as best as possible, we wanted to touch upon some recent data which provides a bit of an insight into what our students are looking for and also what employers might be needing to do a little bit more in order to engage with the best talent as possible and at the right times. So I'm going to use for the purposes of this presentation some data called Sybil. This is inputted from over 100 higher education institutions in the UK, and all of the university students participate in this data as well. So this university data includes what our students are looking for in employers, and it also provides detail on where they're maybe what they're looking for in an employer. So touching on those workplace expectations, as you can imagine, post-pandemic, we're a lot more adjusted to hybrid working, and around 46% of our students would actively be looking for a job that allows flexible working. And a third of the Heriott Watt students will be looking for a job that allows them to work from home as well. So that's really important to consider in terms of those ways of working subject to the type of industry you operate within. And in terms of those salary expectations as well, over a quarter of our students would be looking for a starting salary of around 22 to 25,000 per annum, and a fifth of them would be looking for at least 35k and above. It's also worth mentioning that these salaries are representative of an average of all sectors, so it won't necessarily represent the size for all industries, but it's important to mention that there will be some differences within certain sectors where higher salaries or maybe lower salaries would be expected as the norm. And in addition to that, there's also important employer characteristics. So what are students looking for in an employer according to the CIBIL data? There's top 5 things that our students would be looking for. The first being good career prospects and progression. They also want to be undertaking interesting work, training and development opportunities. So looking at their career growth. That job security. So, there's been lots of job uncertainty recently with the pandemic that we've experienced, and many people have moved jobs. So students are perhaps looking for more stability within their career. And lastly, that diversity and inclusion piece. So they're looking for the ability to look at employers that, understand that diversity and inclusion and the importance of it. And then when you're thinking about attracting talent, from our perspective, I think what's really important to consider is what employers might be finding hard and the reasons they might be finding it hard to recruit graduates and students. There's 3 main things that we would suggest are important to consider. The first being your company profile. So when you're thinking of your profile as a company, you're obviously competing against other employers, and regularly at Heriott Watt we engage with lots of multinational, international corporations which have a presence on campus and online year on year through a program of activity. So it's really important, if you're an SME sized business or a startup even, that you really think about getting your brand built on campus and really, pushing that messaging of who you are and what you do to our students to stand out from the crowd. The timings of advertising posts is also something that's really interesting and something you need to consider. There's certain times of the year where our students are simply not thinking or considering applying for jobs or thinking about their careers. They're thinking about their dissertation and passing their next exam. And there's certain times of the year where they're going to be less engaged with considering, the world of work. So it's really important to consider those windows of opportunity where you're going to get the best engagement from students. And we'll touch upon those a little bit later in the presentation. And lastly, there's where you're advertising your roles, so where they're actually going, where you're posting those vacancies. If you're only doing this on your own company websites, that's good, but you're going to be restricting the reach of these vacancies online and being able for these students to see them. So we have our own graduate platform, Grad Futures, which is for current students and graduates to access, which we'll touch upon later, where we can discuss how you can utilise that platform to promote your vacancies wider. The last stats I wanted to touch upon were related to how employable our students are. So 86% of graduates from Scottish universities will be in sustained employment, further study or both after graduating. And 61% of all UK university students consider their course provides them with the skills necessary for the labour market. Of course, at Heriott Watt, we want to ensure our students are not only academically able, but are also suitable for the world of work and enhancing their employability where possible with work experience. 96% of Heriott Watt students intend to remain within Scotland as well. That's a really key one to highlight to you. So there's a real emphasis on staying within Scotland, and whilst that is important, it's also good to know that many, at least half of them, would consider relocating to London for their next job. So that's really important to consider when you're thinking about promoting your company and who you are alongside the other competing destinations, and ensure we retain those skill sets and talent within Scotland. So when we're looking at this CIBIL data, we thought it might be useful to consider what kind of engagement with our students, if you have a vacancy in mind or a graduate role or an internship, which methods of engagement would work better face-to-face and which would work better in a virtual format. So this is all data that's provided, which is Heriott Watt specific. So although we get access to all higher education data on averages across the whole of the UK, this is specific to Heriott Watt students. So as you can see, there are certain types of work better virtually. So, for example, a simple competition or a prize draw, due to the nature of what you're sharing, it can be really good to have it on just for efficiency, just to have that online. And same with employer presentations; these can work well both face-to-face and virtually. We would always encourage our employers to come onto campus and speak with students face-to-face, but employer presentations can work well virtually too, because of the nature of them, where students are more actively listening rather than having interactions with employers, and they're just simply taking notes. And the types of engagement that work well face-to-face, overwhelmingly, our insights and open days and our careers fairs have proven to be really popular on a face-to-face format. This is in line with our own research that the careers and graduate features team have had fed back to us through our own research and our feedback from students and employers. They really prefer having those career fairs face-to-face and being able to meet the students, and students feel they can engage better conversations and feels for companies when it's done face-to-face. And then once you've thought about ways to engage candidates and ways to think about the types of methods that you might use to select candidates, it's really important to consider which methods not only work for you, but what might get the best out of a student possible as well. So when thinking about things they might dislike, our students have really said they dislike recorded video interviews as a method of selection. So as you can see, more than 32% dislike interviews. And this is pretty consistent across all higher education institutions, this data, but it's also worth mentioning this grows even stronger within specific student populations. So computing science, for example, if you're looking to hire a computing science student, they really dislike this method even more, and the data gets even stronger. So it's worth noting that when thinking about specific students that you're wanting to hire. And those face-to-face interviews, online application forms, and the face-to-face assessment centres also perform well amongst our students, face-to-face interviews being the most popular by far. I think it's because it's a chance for students to really get a feel for an employer and what their values are, and frequently face-to-face interviews are conducted within the workplace, so they can also get a feel of their work environment and the culture of the company as well. And lastly, I wanted to touch upon the type of channels that you utilize. So earlier I mentioned about, where you're posting those vacancies. Aside from just posting vacancies, if you're building your brand amongst students and graduates and being able to get those messages out there of you as an employer, there's certain content which lends itself better to career-related content on that certain channel, and others which is more generalized or for leisure. As you can see, YouTube and Facebook work fairly well on both channels. It's just dependent on the content at hand. However, as you can see, LinkedIn is by far the best career-related channel to utilise. So we would encourage employers to post their vacancies on there, whilst also engaging with success stories or building their brand amongst their timeline, or just promoting themselves a bit more and getting in front of the student population. We also highly encourage our own students to have their own LinkedIn profiles and to treat it as their online version of their CV. So they're not just engaging with vacancies that they see posted, but also engaging with their own profile, completing it and making sure they're following companies, because that's when they're going to see the most related content and really get a feel for what a company does and what their priorities are. So now that I've touched upon all of that data and why it might be important to think about the timelines and also the content that you're sharing, I'm going to pass on to my colleague Mark, who's going to chat us through a little bit more information about how we can help you specifically address that challenge.
Thank you, Shona, and good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Career Services team here, Heriott Watt. And the remaining slides, I'm going to cover the opportunities that are available to employers. Shona and I are part of a team of 5 placement coordinators. Our role is to oversee any placement processes, whether that be a master's, an undergraduate, or a micro placement. It's great to advise to employers the opportunities that are available to get yourself in front of our students, whether that be one of our careers fairs, a presentation, or even our mentoring programs. We also have the opportunity to advertise vacancies or our volunteering options through targeted emails, which go out straight to our student body. Grad Futures is our careers platform, and it's bespoke to Heriott Watt. This is where we would advertise graduate roles, or internships, or even events. So we can post these directly to our current students, but also our alumni. I want to kind of touch base on the industry placements and what's involved in those. So what is involved? It's worth noting that from September 2022 cohort, all of our master programs with placements across all schools will be moving to a 6 months duration. So it's worth noting in your diaries that we will be looking at placement starting in summer 2023. And that being said, we do encourage employers to pay our students when they're on placement. However, we're aware that in certain situations, such as SMEs or in fashion and textile industries, this might not necessarily be possible. However, we will review these on a case by case. We offer the following master programs with industrial placement across all schools. Our placement coordinators are here to help support employers throughout the whole process, whether that is down to helping select a candidate, whether that's an engineering student or a student who wants to come and join your marketing department, or even both. It's quite good to have students in other areas within the same business. We also offer a 6 to 12 undergraduate industry placement opportunities across our engineering schools and our fashion textile schools. These are the opportunities at the moment. So what are the benefits of hosting a placement student? Not only is it a cost-effective way to get an extra pair of hands to help out with any outstanding projects, but it's also a great way to create a graduate recruitment pipeline and to increase your company profile within the students' body. Our placement coordinators are on hand to help with support employers all the way through the placement process. So what we kind of do is have a regular update with employers just to make sure that the placement is going smoothly. At the end of each placement, we do require some kind of feedback just so we can put that forward for how we improve the process for future placements. Here's an example of Ewan, one of our international business management students. He was placed at Glenmorangie. We will be sharing these slides after, so don't feel like you've got to quickly read every single thing on each slide. We also keep in touch with our students throughout the placement, and we touch base with them on a month-to-month basis unless anything is necessary in addition to that. Here's Ilkiba, one of our construction project management students on site at Byler. I did quickly mention about Careers Fair earlier on in the presentation. It's worth noting that Heriott Watt is runs the largest STEM and business careers fair in Scotland. On feedback from both students and employers, we also run sector-specific fairs, such as accountancy and construction. This is a great way to get yourself in front of students, especially when it's open for first year students right through to their final year. So it's just beneficial to raise your profile with everybody across the campus. In February, we were the only university in Scotland to host an in-person careers fair. We took the opportunity to engage with employers to find out why they come to Heriott Watt to recruit our students. So I'm going to just share with you a quick video from that careers fair.
We've recruited some amazing graduates from Heriott Watt, and they're still with us today. So it makes sense for us to continue building that really strong collaborative working partnership.
They do placements here, which they don't do at other unis. So the masters, as I've been talking to people, They do like 10-month placements in companies, so that really helps. Like, they have experience when they join our company already. They're not just graduates, really.
It's obviously got some excellent courses with engineering, construction and commercial as well. Also, we have a lot of former students of Heriott Watt work for us in Ireland.
The second reason for choosing Heriott Watt was I'm actually a graduate of Heriott Watt myself. I know of the qualities and the history of the university, and it was a natural choice for us to come here to try and get recruits.
Heriott Watt has a great range of courses which can all work within forestry. Considering we're working towards the zero net emissions by 2050, we're looking for lots of individuals that are keen to challenge themselves and bring these different skills within our company to help us meet these goals and also innovate Scottish Woodlands itself.
So any employer that's unable to attend one of our careers fairs, we highly suggest them getting in touch with us so that they can present directly to a cohort of students that is specific to their area. It's a great way just to have those informal discussions, and it's just yet again another way to raise your profile with students. So we'd like to hear from you on any of the topics that we've discussed today. So whether that's a placement opportunity or one of the wider opportunities such as the careers fair, it's worth noting that we're currently advertising our October careers fair. So if you are interested in taking part, please get in touch. And thank you very much for everybody attending today. Hopefully it's been as helpful to you as well as getting an insight of what we can offer at Heriott Watt. If you want to keep in touch with what we're doing within the careers department here, give us a follow on one of the social media platforms. And we're hoping that someone will have some questions, so feel free to fire them over just now.
I've just seen a question come in there from Megan saying, thank you, that was very informative. Is it possible to get a copy of the slide? Yes, that's not a problem. So Rachel, who we're working with from the chamber today, will be sending the slides round. So we know that there was some content that was a bit longer that we want to be able for you to fully read in your own time. So yeah, absolutely. We'll share those round with everyone.
Great, thank you.
No problem.
I guess for me, a question I would have is there does the company, if a company wants to host placements, do they have to be a specific size? Can it be quite a small business, or is there any sort of requirement when it comes to that type of thing?
Mark, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, no, there's not specific ones. We kind of welcome any size of company. Kind of our criteria would be as long as it's relevant to the academic study of that student, then it would work for us.
Perfect. And just looking at the other questions coming in, can you tell us some more about the internships available for students? So yeah, there's lots of different ways you can engage with us. So we want to make sure it's in line with your business needs. So if you are interested in undertaking an internship for students or multiple students, we would just encourage you to get in touch with us, and we can let you know how best to advertise those, whether that would be through the online vacancy platform Grad Features, or whether that would be through targeted emails. I would just encourage you to get in touch with us at employers@hw.ac.uk, and we can put you in touch with the right person that would be suitable to advertise. Thank you for today. I didn't know you did microplacements. Yeah, microplacements is quite a new offering for us. It's something we've identified that where longer term placements over the course of months may not be suitable for an employer for various reasons. Microplacements can be an alternative offering, and those microplacements can be for students in their second year of their studies, and it really allows them to dip their toe into the world of work, really. And it's a really good opportunity for students to build that commercial awareness and enhance their employability as early on in their studies as possible. So yeah, if you're interested at all, feel free to get in touch with us. It's the placements at hw.ac.uk. But don't worry, if you get the wrong email, either way, we work closely together, so we can put you in touch with the right person. Let's have a look. It's got quite a few coming through.
Just noticed that there's one question in about the 10-month placement. So just to notify that our master placements will be moving over to a 6-month placement. However, you might be in reference to our undergraduate students. And if that's the case, they vary depending on subject. So it might be worth even just reaching out and just kind of identifying what length of period each placement is. We can happily discuss that with you. How does that look? It really depends on, as long as the students are working on something relevant to their studies. It can be a project that they're working on. It could just be working alongside everyday running of the business. In addition to what they're doing with employers, they will also have to do a learning journal, which they will submit quarterly throughout their placement, but also they'll finalize that on completion.
Perfect. And as you can see, we've got a message from Edinburgh Napier there. So thank you so much. I'm glad that was engaging for you, and that you can find some synergies between us as well. That's really good to hear. What else is coming through? How do the careers fairs work from an employer perspective? Are students aware that particular businesses will be there? Yes, so students will be informed in advance of who is attending. So they'll be sent a list. And we highly encourage our students to undertake preparation ahead of attending a careers fair. We don't want them simply turning up and asking for jobs. We want them to be able to have engaging conversations with employers. So yes, we do tell them in advance who is attending, so they can get a feel for the company, research you, have an understanding of the types of roles that you're advertising. So yes, and in terms of the careers fairs, we've as Mark's discussed before, we do sector specific ones, and then we do a more generalized one, which is on a much larger scale. So depending on the industry in which you operate in, get in touch with us and we can let you know which is most relevant to you. We know there's lots of courses that we offer, so it can sometimes be hard to know what fair is most suited to you. So just get in touch with us and we can direct you to the best one that would be suitable for your business. I can see Monty has said from Leith Police Box, how long does the process take for setting up a placement, for example, summer placement? So for the summer placement, it can be a really quick process. If it's during the summer placement, if it's not an academically integrated part of someone's studies, like a placement course, then that can be set up pretty quickly because there's not necessarily criteria for that. So we would just ask for vacancy details of an internship that you have of interest. And yeah, we would just ask that you send an email over to us and we can advertise that on our job vacancy platform to our students. If it's more to do with an industry placement student on a specific course, if you're maybe looking for a specific skill set, or you're maybe thinking about your recruitment pipeline for the future within specific industries, then a placement would, because it's an academic requirement, there's some criteria and it's very quick. Although there is some formalities there, it's very quick to organise. The only things we would check is academically, whether it's fit for purpose and of the right level if it's for a master's student. And we would also make sure that those placements are mutually beneficial. So not only do they fulfill the requirements of the student's course, but also that the employer is getting everything out of the opportunity that's required. So yeah, if you're interested at all, just reach out to us and we can let you know how that works a bit more. Let's see what else is coming through.
See, there's one from Luke in regards to you're thinking of introducing a graduate scheme, and how could you include that as employer's graduate scheme? Is that in terms of like a graduate role opportunity? If that is,
Yeah, no, it is. So it's we are, what one of our company goals is to foster new talent as well. So we are looking to recruit a graduate, and as such, with trying to not just recruit a graduate and just have them work with us, but we want a detailed scheme really, where they have a life cycle of their graduate program over 2 years once they've graduated, for example, something like that. And it is a sort of some key elements that you think are appropriate to include to attract the best talent, but also help them develop once they've completed their degree as well.
Yeah, I think in terms of like a graduate role, as long as it's similar to a job vacancy, as long as it's a clear role, and you can submit it and we can share it with our students, they can then apply to go ahead, try and even secure the graduate role. Kind of a similar situation. Oh, sorry, Christy.
I'm just quickly jumping in just to help you there, Mark. Hi, Luke. I'm the Employer Engagement Manager at Heriott Watt University. I'm just sitting listening to this presentation. It's going very, very well. Thank you. I think one of the main important things in a graduate scheme would be to give the graduate a rotation, so around the different departments, so they can get an idea where they would fit in best, what would suit their skill set. But if that, we can talk about that off of this presentation if you want to discuss it further.
That'd be really helpful. Thank you.
Thanks, Christy. Yeah, we've got our employer engagement manager on the call. If there's any questions we quite don't know the answer to, she's on hand to help us. Lawrence has said, from Business Doctors, are direct or indirect government grants available to assist with paid intern placement? So there are various government initiatives that are out there. We would just ask you to check the government website. So and also Skills Development Scotland, there may be certain grants available or funding. If you're unsure, you can always come to us in the first instance and we can discuss any funding that might be available. Christy, do you have any specific things to say about that as well?
Yeah, so I was just going to say that there are a few things. I mean, there's a Santander internship funding, but I think we've pretty much filled that criteria already. We've also got GCAS, which again, I'll probably speak offline about that because I'm kind of just saying that I don't know too much about it, but there are several options. And also I've got somebody next to me writing notes, which is very off-putting. It's a 3 months paid, what is it? Internship. Yeah, so sorry, is it Lawrence that asked that question? We can speak about that offline if that helps.
Thanks, Christy, that's great. So yeah, even if we don't have the answer for you right now, we're happy to take any of these away and answer them later. So perfect, thank you so much for the lovely comments. It's great to hear everyone's found this really engaging and helpful. So thank you.
Yes, thank you.
We'll be holding behind as well if there's any more questions that come in. But yeah, if you do have anything you'd like to reach out to us, feel free to get in touch.
Shona, can I ask a question?
Yeah, of course.
It's just being an SME and not having a lot of employees at the moment. Would that be something, would the SME be okay coming to the careers fair? Because I think, do you not feel like, I feel like the SME would be drowned out by all the other bigger companies with larger employees?
Hi, Sajab, it's Christy. I'm gonna, sorry,
Hi,
Shona.
Christy.
No, go for it, Christy.
I'm gonna just answer that because you wouldn't be drowned out. I see what you mean, but I would potentially, and I think we've spoken previously, Saj, but I would put you in a smaller careers fair. So I'd probably advise you to come to one of the sector specific, depending on who you're looking for. But the more SMEs we have at one of our large fairs, the less you'd be drowned out, if that makes sense. Because obviously our students will know the big names, but they're wandering around the hall looking to speak to people that we prep them to speak to because we know that their opportunities are for them. So
okay.
Go up to a company that they know because that they might feel comfortable going up to them, but they've also been prepped beforehand by their careers consultant about the companies that they should go and speak to. So just because they don't know who you are doesn't mean that they won't come up to you.
Okay, that makes sense. I think that's actually what's intimidated me from coming to these things.
And I can totally understand that. but we do, like I say, have the sector specific, and I think for the kind of graduates that you look for, I would potentially the business and networking event, for instance, that we have in September. We can send details out of all the different sector specific events that we have, if that's of interest, and we'll obviously talk again because we have been talking previously.
Yeah, that would be amazing, Christy. Thank you so much. I'd really appreciate that. Thank you.
Perfect, thanks, Christy. Some really great questions coming in.
I think the chat's went quiet now, so we'll maybe wrap it up. As Shona and Mark said, after this will send slides along and any other information that they provide. But thanks so much for hosting us today, Mark and Shona, and I hope everyone has a really good day.
Thanks, Rachel. Thank you for everyone attending.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.